while we have the participants joining, would like to get to know ourselves. So as you are joining us, please make good use of the chat room. Tell us your name and where you are joining us from. So good morning, everyone on the call. Please make good use of the chat room. Tell us your name and where you are joining us from. All right, on the call, I can see Abba Mark. I can see Agnes, Dr. Sarah. I can see Maria. Okay, so please tell us where you're joining us from, your name and where you're joining us from.
Good morning, all.
Good
I'm Dr.
morning.
Sarah Oga Aduari, MNI, joining from Port Harcourt.
Great. It's great to have you on the call, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on the call. All right.
Thank
So
you.
you can, yes, you're welcome. You can unmute yourself and introduce yourself, or you can make use of the chat room while we have others join us. Okay. So let's have it coming. I see Ibrahim. Okay, you're joining us from Ethiopia. Great, nice. Okay, great, great, great. It's great to have you on the call. Yes, let's have others. Introduce yourself and let's get to know where you're joining us from. And don't forget, you can as well network even on this platform. You can make connections, right? As we kick off the program or the webinar this morning. Okay, Abba Mark, okay, you're an architect and you're joining us from Lagos. Great, great, great. It's a pleasure to have you on the call this morning. Agnes from Ghana, it's a pleasure to have you on the call this morning. Okay, let's have everyone introduce themselves, okay? Like I said, you can unmute yourself or you can chat in the chat room. Oluremi, okay, you're joining us from Lagos. Good. Business consultant focused on ERP solutions. Amazing, amazing. Okay. Okay. Bayonle, all right, you're joining us from Lagos. Great, great. Thank you for joining us. And also don't forget, feel free to share the webinar link. This is free and open to all. SDG conversation concerns everyone in the planet. So anyone is free to join this conversation and let's share our thoughts on this webinar. And we have a lineup of great personalities who would be speaking to us on this call today with respect to SDG 15, 16, and 17. All right, so without further waste of time, once again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today being hosted by A4S. And today we'll be looking at SDG 15, 16, and 17, and we have, like I mentioned, great personalities who will be speaking to us with respect to the different SDGs. And of course, we'll be introducing them later on the call. And just a brief intro of A4S. What you see on your screen are our 6 major business services that we offer to the general public, all right, around business GRC, IT GRC, sustainability, quality health, health and safety, climate, human resource, and artificial intelligence. So these are the key 6 major business areas that we can collaborate with you. And of course, you can see the trainings that we offer to the general public along the GRC and sustainability side of things. So we'll be glad to collaborate and partner with you in these areas. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, once again, you're all welcome to the call this morning. All right. I would like to bring up our first speaker this morning, just a few minutes, and
okay, just a few words from me. Once again, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I'm Dr. Orlando Olumide Odejide, and the lady that was just speaking to you is our Chief Operations Officer, Edith Ugochukwu. Thank you very much. We both work for A4S. And we've been running this series since last year. I was saying some minutes ago that we started last year, and we will share a lot of links in the chat room. We started all the way from SDG 1, and we've been having these sessions SDG 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way since last year. I think we started about July, thereabouts of last year, and we're where we are as at today. And we've recorded all these sessions, and they're all available on YouTube. It's because in my personal interaction and in our interaction as an organization with different stakeholders, we found out that the knowledge around SDGs is still extremely limited, and people don't even know what it is that the SDGs are about. People don't know where they come into play relative to the SDGs. People think that the SDGs belong to, should I say, Western countries. Somebody even told me, is that in the local parlance, they said, now who belefu, now they talk SDG and ESG. That's what the person said. And now who don't belefu, now they discuss all these kind of things. In fact, the person was making fun of me. The person said, Dr. Orlando, you're a big man. Now you don't have other things to do. It's SDGs that you're talking about. That you mean that's an indication that you have made a lot of money. That's why you're having these types of conversations. So that's why we decided that we're going to do this series, and we started all the way from last year, and we're where we are as at today. The plan was for us to get everything done by the end of this year, but we had a summit last month, so we couldn't really do this, and many other things that have come up. So we said that, well, our plan was to finish this year, and we will. And as God will have it, we do have great people that we've met over the last 2-3 months, and we felt that these are the right kind of people to help us put this to a beautiful close for this year. So my colleague will introduce our professors and our unbecoming Mr. Ibrahim. If you look at the work of Mr. Ibrahim, the kind of books that he has written, if I could grant honorary professorship, I will grant it to him this afternoon, this morning, as it is. But by the powers not vested in me, I am unable to do that. Maybe our professors can come together to lay hands on him and just move him straight, because if you see the kind of the types of books and the kind of works that have come out from Mr. Ibrahim's hand, you will know that he's a highly revered intellectual, and he was even telling me some of the other things he's looking to do into the future. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. At the end of today, maybe I will find out from my team if I can give an award to the people that have been a part of this program from beginning. There's some people that have been consistent over the last 18 months. There's hardly anything. I can see Richard here is definitely one of them. I'm certain if I look properly, I will see many other persons that even if we're sneezing, they're going to be there. So if without these people, we won't be able to get value from this session. So to all of you that have been consistent, and if you think you've joined our SDGs, maybe about 10 and above, I want you to put your name, your phone number in the chat room, your full name and email address, better still, not phone number. If you think you've attended up to 10 of these sessions since we started last year and above, I need you to put your name in the chat room and put the number that you think you've attended as it is. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thank you to our professors. Thank you to Mr. Ibrahim for all agreeing to do this. We can't pay you. If we want to pay all of you, we would have to use our entire revenue for the whole year to pay 2 professors and 1 unbecoming professor. So thank you very much for doing this free of charge and out of your own goodwill as it is. These sessions will go global, and I'm sure that the entire world will get value from this. So once again, thank you very much. And to the A4S team, the Oyinkan, Esther, Edith, and everybody that have worked to ensure that we have these sessions. Thank you once again, everybody. I will give it back to Edith as she introduces Professor Uzoma Okoye, and she will take the first session for today. Once again, thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. And just before I introduce Professor, it is important to note that this session is a crucial conversation about how the ecosystem governance and collaboration come together to strengthen the global sustainable development framework as pertaining to the SDGs. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to introduce to you our very own Professor our very own Professor Uzoma. This is an abridged version of her profile. When she sent her profile, I was like, okay, so where do we start? So this is an abridged version of her profile, okay? She is a distinguished social development expert and a professor of social works at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And she's a Fulbright scholar and former Dix Lane visiting lecturer at the University of British Columbia. She has authored over 200 publications and supervised 800 plus postgraduate students, and she is editor-in-chief of the Journal of Social Work in Developing Societies, a certified NFPA census monitor, and founding faculty member of the UNN Social Work Department. And she has extensive experience in international research, policy development, and social work education across Africa and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put a round of applause in the chat room as we welcome Professor Uzoma. Thank you for joining us, and you can take it over from here. And one more thing, you might feel free to share your LinkedIn link in the chat room so people can reach out to you just in case they would also want to collaborate with you. All right, so Professor, please take it over from here.
Okay. Okay, please, I need permission to share my slides.
Oh, sure. Oyin, can we please make her, grant her permission to share her slide?
Yes, I think the permission has been granted.
Great, great, great.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm so happy to be here with all of us. Today, we are looking at something people have been talking about it all these years since we started the SDGs. And today, I'm going to be particular about strong institutions, peace, justice, and strong institutions, SDG 16. That is what we are going to be talking about today. What is the relationship between strong institutions and sustainable development? Is there a relationship? And so we are going to take it today and see if we can be in a position to establish the relationship. What we're going to discuss this morning is not limited to these 6 issues I have here on the outline. What is SDG? Why is it important? The pillars, global case studies, how strong institutions drive sustainability, how do we strengthen institutions, and then what roles can we play? It's not going to be limited to this, but I hope that within the 20 minutes or so I have, I'll be able to make it simpler. Because sometimes when we talk about SDGs, we look at something big, but there is an angle I also want us to talk about when we're talking about strong institutions, and as we will see later. So when we talk about SDG 16, what are we really looking at? We're looking at how to promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development for everyone, provide justice for all, build effective and accountable inclusive institutions at all levels, So when we talk and that is where I want to center what I'm talking about today. When we talk about at all levels, there is a level that sometimes we forget. that is even an institution, and that is the family. People seem to forget that family is also an institution and that we should build strong families because that is where it all starts, as we are going to see. So when we're talking about SDG system, we're not merely talking about creating formal structures. Informal structures are also important, leaving no one behind. No one should be left behind, no matter what. We are all citizens of a particular country, and so we all need to carry each other along. So, why is SDG 16 very important? We have 4 reasons here, but it is not limited to these 4. Everybody has a right to fundamental freedom in any society we find ourselves. Everybody, you have that right to do things, to grow, economic growth, to do your business, to get employment where you can grow economically, where economic benefits are distributed. Maybe not equally, but everybody should have a right to be able to do business, to be able to earn an income, build trust and accountability, where your word, we should be able to say that our word is our bond. We are trusted, you're given a position, and you are able to deliver in an accountable manner. You are a public office holder, you do things in an accountable manner. And then the last but not the least, as we will see here, we also try to reduce corruption and conflict. I don't need to go to explain this, but it's important that we try as much as possible in any organization that we find ourselves to reduce corruption and to reduce conflict. Conflict resolution, talking, dialoguing. Sometimes it does appear as if dialogue has, people seem to forget that dialogue is important, or dialogue is even an option. Mediation. Those things are now like words that we use, but we do not even implement it, or we do not even think it's something. People are just prone to get angry and do stuff against the state and even against fellow human beings. So in a nutshell, when we talk about strong institutions, what do we really mean? Strong institutions is that one institution that is able to carry out its mission without undue political influence. Let me just stop there. Because politics is sometimes is now our life. It's something we do every day. We talk about politicians at every opportunity we have. So an institution is said to be strong when it can carry out its mission without being influenced, without an outside influence, whether it's political or any undue influence in any way. You follow the rule of law and you do things the way it should be done. And we say that such an institution is a strong institution. And I said that there's one institution that people do not even seem to remember. When we talk about judiciary, legislature, all these ministries and as institutions, we seem to forget that family is also an institution. And if we can strengthen the family, I think we are good to go in all that we do. So what are the pillars of strong institutions? Let's just look at 4. Accountability. Many of us today are not accountable, even in small things. I was just talking to somebody. I saw a man, he just got a job, posted him somewhere, and they gave him this brand new Camry. That Camry goes to the market, he takes it to take his children to school and everything and all that. And within 1 year, the Camry, the engine, was gone. And how do we handle public office? How do we do, many of us are not accountable even to the offices that we hold. And that is not good enough. Rule of law. In Nigeria today, there's this new language, go to court, go to court. And when people say go to court, they are almost like telling you, you're wasting your time. Where is the rule of law in Nigeria? We used to say that the court is the last hope of the common man. I don't know. It is important that we think about this at any point. Transparency. Many of our institutions are not transparent. Even some of us in our family, in our decision making, we're not transparent. People do not get information. People do not know budget. People do not even know your spending patterns and so on. In an institution, nothing is open for people to see and see how you run your organizations and even how you run your family. You are just there dictating, maybe dictating to the children or to your wife or even to your husband. Transparency, inclusion. I believe that if we have an inclusive society, a lot of the problems we have today will be solved. Even when we make laws about inclusion, we still do not obey such laws. It is 6 years now since the Disability Act was passed, but many in organizations are still not open for people to enter as they wish. And, people cannot even access buildings. And meanwhile, we have a disability law that is being implemented. Ethnicity, gender. Somebody was saying the other day, and I felt really bad. He said that nobody should employ a young girl who just got married newly in any organization. And I asked why. He said, because she'll be having children, that she will not be effective. And we're talking about inclusion. And the person saying this is high up there, not just a small person. So inclusive society, it is something that should bother us in all that we do. And then we try to compare strong institutions and weak institutions. The comparison is just simple. Corruption and injustice. You find it in weak institutions, poor public service, exclusion and inequality, conflict and violence, and the last but not the least, unstable economy. What can we say about us where we find ourselves, whether you're in Nigeria or elsewhere? What can you say? Can you say that you are operating a weak institution, or can you say that you are operating a strong institution? Unfortunately, we do not have fairly strong institution or fairly weak. It is either it is weak or it is strong. What can you say about where you find yourself? In Nigeria today, we talk about public service. Very poor public service, we know that. People do not get their due. People pay and do not even get the worth of what they are paying for. We talk about electricity, for example. Let me just use that as an example. Many people are in band A, but they don't even get light up to 12 hours a day. Is that fair? And so on and so forth. Look at conflict and violence. It is the order of the day. In many institutions, there is almost no room for dialogue. Either people are going on strike or people are doing this and doing. There's no room again for dialogue. So can we really say that we have strong institutions? And then we look at the families. I'm sorry, I'm always coming back to the family because that is where it usually starts. Look at the family. You go to the family, many families, there's a lot of injustice going on in some of our families, exclusion going on, and so on and so forth. And so it is not for me to tell us whether to now ask us to decide if we have strong institutions or weak institutions. Look at this table and decide for yourself where you find yourself, even in that organization where you find yourself. Can you say that whatever you're doing is what will promote strong institution in the future or not? Global case studies. Let's look at Rwanda. We all know what happened in Rwanda in 1994. More than 800,000, some say 1 million, some say 800,000 plus, died as a result of not having strong institutions. Just that. But they realized that and decided that they are going to rebuild and they are going to build strong institutions. And today we are seeing the result. A friend of mine the other day called me and said he was just coming back from Rwanda, that they went for their school reunion. I said, really? He said, oh, Rwanda is now the destination point where you go for tourism. They went to play a round of golf and they had this beautiful hotel and whatever. I'm like, really, in Rwanda? He said, yes. So they are rebuilding and they are building strong institutions. And because they're building strong institutions, you know, the ultimate, remember I said the ultimate is stable economy, sustainable growth, stable economy, sustainable growth. Look at Singapore. We use Singapore as example everywhere now. Lee Kuan Yew, everybody's talking about Singapore, how they were able to eliminate ethnicity, blah, 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 in the policies they made. And these policies were being implemented by strong institutions. Now, we have so much investment in Singapore. The country is beautiful. People are going there. There's a strong rule of law, and so on and so forth. These are very wonderful examples. But what can we say about our country, Nigeria? Between intent and action, we cannot really say what is happening. We have the EFCC, we have the independent ICPC, and they were established as institutions that will help to rid Nigeria of corrupt practices, and at the end of the day, enable other institutions also to be strong, to be accountable, to promote justice, and so on. While we know that there are incremental progress, but we do not think that the progress is enough. We need to do more, given what is happening in our society today. Even when EFCC, you know, tries to get some people, bring them to book, there are still a lot of technical, either the judge had to quit or the judge didn't give the judgment when he was in that court, and even people who were already, you know, in prison had to come out because the protocol or there were technical rules and so on that were not followed. But be that as it may, we can do better. All hope is not lost. That is why we are talking about it, that Nigeria can still build very strong institutions if we have the will, if we want to. So what is the relationship between strong institution and sustainability? Strong institutions are supposed to reinforce other institutions and even reinforce themselves. Remember that we are not building strong institutions for today. We are looking at tomorrow. We're looking at the young people. What are we going to leave for them? So when we have this reinforced institution, what happens? The institution becomes, everybody knows what is expected. Whether a new person is coming in, they just follow it, and it becomes, you know, as it was in the beginning, it's now and never shall be. Everybody knows what is required of them. And that immediately will drive development. You cannot develop when you do not have strong institutions. It is not possible. Development cannot occur if we do not have institutions that can reinforce themselves and can be there for as long as we want them to be there. One of the reasons why when we talk about sustainability, people, you know, kind of keep quiet, because when you look at what we are doing, you find that it is not sustainable. You make policies that are not implemented or they're not implementable. Another person comes, changes, and so on. We need to have institutions that can stand on their own for as long as possible. Fostering peace is important to drive sustainability. Peace is not negotiable. Nothing can actually work when there is no peace. Nothing. Just imagine in the past 1-2 weeks or so in Nigeria, when we had all these crises, many people were not happy. Functions were cancelled, things were, you know, set aside simply because there was no peace. We need peace, even for our society to thrive. Without peace, you cannot drive sustainability in any way. Stability. It is peace that brings about stability. Stability in everything. Stability in the economy. Stability in all that we do. You wake up this morning knowing that this is how your day will go. You wake up this morning knowing that you're going to the market, the price of this is 5 naira and it's going to remain there. Ensure stability in all spheres of life. You know that your school is opening on the 5th of January and are going to close a 5th of April with no, when you have a stable society, people thrive, everything thrives. And it is important that we strive for that, because that is also what we make for sustainability. And the last but not the least, investment. When money is not coming in, nothing will happen. Money must come in. You must attract investment in all spheres of the economy. Once you have people who are willing to invest, things begin to move, and they cannot invest if there is no stability, if there is no peace. And all these will drive development. And we need strong institutions for this to happen. Then I also want to talk about pathways to strengthen institutions. How can we make our institutions stronger? How? It's possible, it's doable. Promoting transparency and open data. Many organizations do not tell us what they do. Meanwhile, they are public organizations using our taxpayers' money. We don't know their budget. We don't even know sometimes the amount they are paid, and so on and so forth. Just the other day, the Minister for Education told the universities to publish their budget and publish information on their website so people will know. We need to have information. Information is power. And sometimes when these informations are out there, if information is out there on the open, there are certain things people will not do because they know that everybody knows. But it's like we run close organizations. We need to promote transparency. That is very important. And then we look at rule of law. Like I said before, that the rule of law is becoming something we dreamt about, or something we had a dream about, but it's no longer happening with this slang of go to court. Judicial independence is critical. It is non-negotiable. We need to have rule of law. The justice system must be supported. Let the court still become the hope of the common man. Embrace digital governance too. This is important, but there is a catch. I just learned that the federal ministry or so will be going digital from January 1. This is very good, but there are certain things that must be in place before you can embrace digital governance, or else you're going to have problems. E-governance is good, but then do we have 24-hour power supply? Do we have 24-hour internet, and so on and so forth? These are all important. But then digital governance for public service, where people can just go online, do their thing, and you don't have to talk to anybody. Because let me be honest with you, too much physical contact is what breeds corruption. Too much physical contact, because you have to go and meet this person, and meet this person, and meet this person. By the time you finish meeting them, things are happening. But if it's seamless, you don't have to see anybody, you don't have to talk to anybody, it will limit corruption. Believe you me. Engage citizens and civil society organizations. We are so used to top approach, but we talk about bottom up. It shouldn't be top bottom. It should be, citizens need to say what they want and how they want it. They need to be heard. Sometimes even just hearing them, it's enough. So community engagement, getting people to say what they want, or even make their grievances known, is very, very important. We should not always stifle, strike, or people that want to do demonstration, you make sure that they don't even see the light of the day. I think it is something we need to allow. Let people talk. When people talk, they may even sometimes agree with what you're proposing, but we may decide not to agree because you didn't give them room. It's important that we engage our citizens. And then ethical leadership. Ethical leadership. Build ethics-driven leadership. Do we have ethical leadership? People who are accountable. People who use public property the way it should be used, who do not use public property or public funds as their personal funds and do their personal things simply because they have the opportunity. We need to train. We need to train public officers. There's need for accountability. Do you know some people do not even know what accountability is? Again, many people do not even know there's a way you have to use government vehicle. You have to use, you have to even do in your office the things you must not do as a public office holder. It's important that we do that. But what can we do? We talk, too much talk. But it's important that we also put that talk into action. We said that one of the first things organizations can do is to adopt corporate best governance practices. Implement, we try to have robust controls, independent boards, oversights, and so on. This also makes for accountability. But you find that in the private sector, they try to do this because sometimes it's somebody's business, somebody is managing it, but in the public sector is not so. But the sad thing is that sometimes you bring somebody from the public sector to the private, from the private sector to the public, and you still not get results. We need to start, looking at these best practices. And then anti-corruption policies. So many of them in Nigeria, policies are not our problem. It is implementation. How can we, and we have said that one way is to go when you do e-governance or when you do some of these things digital, you don't have to be talking to people, carrying your file and doing this, and before then, the corruption processes goes on and on. Support social they are supposed to have some form of social responsibility in the location where they are even operating. Many people do not know that, and they do not do anything about it. Corporate social responsibility is important. Even for some of us that are in government, sometimes where our offices are located, it's important that we remember that there are human beings there. This will make for, a sustainable society. People are happy, everybody is happy, and we are moving as one. What can we do as individuals? We said the first one is to be informed that you should vote responsibly. Fine. Many people today just go to the polling booth to look for who will give them money before they cast their vote. Sometimes you don't blame them. They will tell you, this money is the only thing we're going to get until the next 4 years. But we need to maybe start educating our people that you're mortgaging your future, you're mortgaging your next 4 years by collecting this money. Then we hold our leaders accountable. Many of our leaders are not accountable, sometimes because we didn't vote for them, actually. They know you are not the person that brought them here, so they are sometimes not accountable, but we should start holding them accountable. These things go together. And fashion. I'll just tell a small story. Father-in-law will learn this with my children. Teenagers, 10, 15, and each time I get angry, I'm like, Papa, why do you have to drag these children? He said, yes, I'm dragging them because we need young people to know what is happening today, that very soon we will be gone. Who will say, this was how it was done. This is where the land, this is this and that. And I started seeing reason with him. And so if we want a sustainable society, a sustainable organization, let us bring young people, teach them, let them know the right things to do and how to get the right things done. I think at the end of the day, we will have a crop of future leaders who we know we can hand over to. And that is what sustainability is all about. We don't want that by the time we go, our society will also go. No. We want society to remain here for others that will come behind us. That is the whole idea. Ask you some questions before we go. What do you think is the
Okay,
biggest
sign
barrier to strong institutions in your country? What do you
So,
think?
question.
Look at this.
Now,
Is it corruption? Is it weak leadership? Is it lack of transparency? What do you think? What do you think? If you're asked to say, or do you think that citizens are not participating? What do you think is the biggest barrier to strong institutions? Think about it. Look at these four. And then maybe at the end, I don't know if we'll have time now to talk about it, but maybe at the end, when we come back, we'll look at these questions again and decide the one we think. All of them could be which one is the strongest? Which one do you think is the biggest barrier? All of them could be. You may even have difficulty choosing, but it's important that we talk about it. So I'm going to conclude by saying that peace, justice, and strong institutions are the foundation upon which all other SDGs stand. And incidentally, the burden of helping all these other SDGs to stand is on SDG 16. Because if there is no fairness, if there is no accountability, we can't have a sustainable society. If governance is not strong, if governance is weak, then there will even be no justice. There will be no equity. There will be no inclusion. And we want that and more if we want to have a country where everybody will be proud and a country where we'll be happy that when we go, we're leaving something beautiful behind for others to continue from where we stop. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Prof. I quite agree with you that we cannot develop without a strong institution. There is no backdoor to that, right? There is need for a strong institution if we have to develop. Now, it's time to take your questions, but because of time, we would only take one question. But if a question to ask, would only take one question for Prof, and we move on to the next. Any questions? All right, if there are no questions, Prof, I was at a sustainability summit sometime within the month, and data were being rolled out as to what the government is doing towards SDG, right? But we had people in the hall or in the attendees who were not in support of the data because they are saying they are the ones dealing directly with the grassroots, and the data that is being rolled out does not correspond to what they are seeing. Now that brings us to how the level of trust that people have on the institutions and the government when it comes to these things. So what would be your thoughts on how developing countries can strengthen public institutions to reduce corruption and build public trust, especially in this digital age?
It boils down to transparency. Transparency. Let people give out information. Sometimes some of these things are shrouded in secrecy, and I don't know why. People need to know what is happening. It's only when you know what is happening that you can join and that you can contribute. If you don't know what is happening, there is no way you can contribute. And that is why when these people are, churning out the data, people are shocked because they never even heard about it. Give some things you're doing publicity too. But most importantly, transparency is key to whatever we are doing in all our institutions. Let everybody, when you are transparent, inclusion will be there. When you are transparent, justice will be there. Nobody will be left behind. All these things I can actually say that we need to, and then accountability. When you are transparent, accountability becomes even very easy. Becomes very, very easy. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. That was very profound. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again for sharing your thoughts with us. And it was quite an insightful
Are you
session.
there, Edith?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Hello, can anyone hear
I can
me?
hear you.
I can hear you clearly.
I can hear
We
you.
can hear you clearly.
All right.
Yes,
All
I
right.
can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much once again, Prof. Now would move quickly to introduce the second Prof that we have in our midst today. Now, again, this is an abridged version. When it comes to Prof. Choji, it's a whole lot to reach out. So this is an abridged version of his profile. So he's a renowned environmental planning and climate change expert with over 40 years of experience, and he holds a PhD in geography from the University of Ibadan and master's in environmental planning from the University of Nottingham, UK. He is the chairman of board of trustees of the Climate and Sustainable Development Network and a member of the governing board of the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Environmental, Social, and Social Society, and a former directing staff at NIPS. Professor has published extensively on climate change and sustainable development. It is a pleasure to have you with us today, Prof. Choji, and he's a member of the National Institute as well. Thank you very much for joining us today, Professor, and it's a pleasure to have you on the call. So you can take it over from here while I share my screen on your behalf.
Thank you very much, Edith. Thank you for inviting me to talk on this very important issue that affects life on Earth, which is SDG 15. And as we all know, SDG 15 is all about life on Earth. It is about protecting, restoring, and promoting the sustainable use of the terrestrial ecosystem. Most of the times we are taking the land for granted, and the call for us to judiciously take a look at the way we're using our land becomes very imperative. So in this lecture, I will take a look at why land matters. I will review some conceptual clarifications, but particularly what we mean by land degradation, trends in Africa of degrading of lands. Then I'll look at some initiatives and best practices, and then I will end with a call to action. The first thing to ask is, why does land matter? Land, of course, is the foundation of life and livelihoods. It's based on land that we have food security, water resources we depend on, and biodiversity hotspots and livelihood support. So the health of our land directly underpins our capacity to provide food, secure water, maintain biodiversity, and support the livelihoods of millions. Unfortunately, degraded land in Africa disproportionately threatens food security, reduces biodiversity, and devastates communities, making concerted restoration efforts is becoming very beneficial, as well as absolutely critical for the continent's future. If we continue the way we're degrading our lands and water resources, it forms danger, it's ominous for livelihoods in the future. And we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about sustainable development goals. What are we leaving behind to our children and our great-grandchildren? We now take a look at some concepts which are used here in the work. First, starting with land degradation. And land degradation refers to the long-term decline in ecosystem function and productivity, while desertification is a severe form of degradation which occurs in arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid areas. This leads to loss of biological productivity. Those of us who have traveled to parts of the north, whether Northern Africa, Northern Nigeria in particular, will notice that the levels of desertification there are so high. And this is causing migration. People are moving further down south. And this is further, aggravating conflicts, farmer-herder conflicts, and other conflicts because of pressure on the already existing resources within these southern areas. The key drivers of degradation we may note are deforestation. And we see that this is very critical, particularly as it relates to forests, clearing of forests. In the southern parts of our countries, particularly in Nigeria, we see how forest is being cleared, logging by Chinese. These lead to soil erosion and other negative consequences. Overgrazing. We notice that there is that migration from the far north, the more arid sections of the continent, towards the richer parts, and this causes a lot of overgrazing, unsustainable farming practices, and these are further worsened by climate change, which we all know has become a source of concern to all countries. Now, what are the consequences of all these drivers? First, reduced agricultural productivity, which leads to hunger, increased poverty. Already we are poor, and the situation is being aggravated, particularly in rural communities that depend on these land resources. I have talked about forced migration. People have to adjust, people have to adapt, and therefore they have to move to where they think they can survive, and this causes clashes and stress within communities. And then the issue of loss of biodiversity. Habitats are destroyed, and this impacts countless species and ecosystem services. On the other issue, that is on land degradation, can you revert to the previous slide, please? We're still talking about land degradation. Okay, the next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Now, as I said, we look at trends, alarming trends, ominous trends. Africa's losing battle against land degradation. And the statistics paint a stark picture of the escalating crisis across Africa. The continent, as we note, is losing significant percentage of its arable land annually. And this trend directly impacts food security, economic stability, and even political stability. People have to survive. And where they cannot survive, they have to forcefully find a way of surviving. And this is one of the primary causes of farmer-herder clashes within Africa. So we have the arable loss of land loss in Africa. We lose an estimated 3 to 5% of arable land each year due to erosion, nutrient depletion, and desertification. This translates to vast stretches of previously productive land becoming unusable for agriculture and thus threatening livelihoods of millions. We've already talked about desert expansion, and the severely affected regions usually include the Sahel, the Horn of Africa, and Southern Africa. Particularly, they are experiencing severe impacts. Turkana, we remember the Turkana areas in Kenya, recurrent droughts and famine, and environmental migration. These areas are at the forefront of the climate crisis and then experiencing its effects acutely. Now, the linkages between land degradation, climate change, and socioeconomic impacts are profound. We will note that as land becomes less productive, poverty deepens, communities become more vulnerable to the external shocks. There is the need to address these trends urgently with coordinated action. Now, we want to take a look at some actions that have been taken, to sort out this problem. And one of these is empowering communities, empowering them for change. And then we have community-driven solutions, that is, solutions that come from below, bottom-up solutions. Now, at the heart of a successful land restoration lies the invaluable engagement of local communities. These are the people who live directly with the land. They understand its nuances and have the most vested interest in its health and productivity. Grassroots involvement ensures that restoration efforts are not only effective, but also sustainable and culturally appropriate. When communities lead, they reclaim ownership of their environment, fostering a sense of responsibility and commitment to long-term ecological stewardship instead of a top-bottom approach. The communities are rooted in traditional knowledge, what we call indigenous knowledge. Combined with scientific approach, they now create resilient ecosystems that can withstand environmental pressures. And ultimately, empowering local communities is the most powerful and effective strategy for healing Africa's degraded lands. Although this has not seriously been given attention. We will now take a look at one practical example, which is the Great Green Wall Initiative. This is an initiative that covers a large chunk of Africa, and it was launched in 2007. It aims to grow 8,000 kilometers natural wonder of world across the entire width of Africa. And the aim is to restore degraded landscapes and transform millions of lives. Beyond simply planting trees, the initiative focuses on a mosaic of sustainable land management practices that enhance biodiversity, improve soil fertility, and create resilient ecosystems. It is a powerful example of how large-scale coordinated efforts can tackle environmental challenges with significant socio-economic benefits. As we can see on the screen, it involves combating desertification, ecological restoration, empowerment of local livelihoods, and increasing carbon sequestration. As some of us would have noted, it has some challenges, quite a number of challenges of funding, challenges of sustainability, challenges of climate change, challenges of insecurity within some of these regions. Can we move on, please? Next slide, please. Another example of local, response is the farmer-managed natural regeneration, which is a strategy for reclaiming the environment. This approach is simple. It is also low cost and highly effective restoration technique, and it empowers farmers to regenerate and manage trees and shrubs on their land. Instead of planting new trees, this technique involves systematically pruning and protecting existing tree stumps or naturally occurring seedlings, allowing them to grow into mature trees. This approach is pioneered and is widely adopted in places like Niger, Ethiopia, and some other African countries. And it has transformed vast stretches of degraded land into productive agroforestry systems. It harnesses the natural regenerative capacity of local ecosystems, making it a sustainable and cost-efficient solution for land restoration. Okay, as I said, it leads to improved soil fertility, enhanced biodiversity, increased crop yields, and community resilience. Next slide, please. Now, we have another technique, which is the community soil and water conservation projects. And this is building resilience from the ground up, starting with the communities. Now, beyond tree regeneration, communities across Africa are implementing ingenious soil and water conservation techniques that are both sustainable and deeply rooted in local ecological knowledge, sometimes called indigenous knowledge. These methods are crucial for preventing erosion, maximizing water retention, and fostering a healthy microclimate for agriculture. Now, these community-led initiatives are vital for enhancing food security, adapting to climate change, and ensuring the long-term productivity of agricultural land. Now, by integrating traditional wisdom with modern understanding, these projects demonstrate the power of local solutions to global challenges. Some of these are terracing. This is creating steps on slopes to reduce runoff, prevent soil erosion, and increase water infiltration for farming. These are always practiced in areas that are rocky or mountainous. In Nigeria, this is practiced on the Jos Plateau. We have check dams, which are small barriers constructed across gullies and ephemeral streams to slow down water flow, trap sediment, and promote water percolation into the soil. The other, which is popular, is the rain harvesting, which is practiced in almost all parts of Africa, and it involves collecting and storing rainwater from rooftops or ground surfaces for agricultural use, domestic consumption, or groundwater recharge. We also have the technique of contour farming. This is plowing and planting across a slope, following its elevation contour lines to reduce soil erosion from water runoff. We know that in Africa, during the rainy season, sometimes we have plenty of rain, but because of poor techniques of harvesting this rain, within the short period of rainy season, we should develop techniques of capturing this water instead of waiting to suffer during the dry season. Now we move on to catalyzing progress. After having looked at the indigenous or traditional ecological techniques, we are now going to look at the role of technology in ecosystem recovery. Now, in the urgent mission to restore Africa's degraded lands, technology serves as a powerful accelerator, providing tools for precision, efficiency, and informed decision-making. From monitoring vast landscapes to empowering local communities with real-time data, innovation is rapidly transforming the field of land restoration. And we're arguing here that we can combine scientific tools with practical, accessible technologies. We can significantly enhance our ability to plan, implement, and track restoration efforts, thus ensuring greater impact and accountability. Now, this fusion of high-tech and local knowledge creates a synergistic approach, delivering the best of both worlds. As you can see on the screen, already we are advancing in Africa in drone mapping and monitoring, in satellite data and GIS use, in mobile apps and citizen science, and these days we are moving very fast in adopting artificial intelligence and predictive analytics. Next slide, please. Now, empowering the future of our land. We'll take an example of drones and precision agriculture. Drones are revolutionizing land restoration and sustainable agriculture, offering unparalleled efficiency and accuracy. These UAVs provide a powerful tool for accelerating reforestation efforts and optimizing soil restoration processes. By leveraging advanced mapping and spraying technologies, drones can identify degraded areas with precision, deploy seeds or nutrient-rich solutions, and monitor progress over time. They are efficient in restoration and forest and soil restoration. Drones enable rapid and targeted seed dispersal, especially in hard-to-reach or hazardous terrains. This significantly speeds up reforestation projects, allowing for the planting of thousands of trees in a fraction of the time and cost associated with manual methods. Additionally, for soil restoration, drones can precisely apply biostimulants, compost teas, or other beneficial amendments, ensuring optimal nutrient delivery where it's needed most. Reduce manual labor and enhance accuracy. The integration of drones drastically reduces the need for extensive manual labor, mitigating risk for workers and improving overall operational efficiency. Equipped with high-resolution cameras and multispectral sensors, drones provide detailed data that allows for highly accurate assessment of land health, identification of erosion patterns, and monitoring of vegetation growth. This data-driven approach ensures that restoration efforts are not only faster, but also more effective and sustainable in the long run. Next. We've spoken about mobile apps, which are very useful for farmers, particularly on their platforms. In this digital age, mobile applications and farmer platforms are bridging knowledge gaps and fostering sustainable practices at the grassroots level. These user-friendly tools empower farmers and restoration practitioners with vital information, training models, and real-time data, democratizing access to expert knowledge and best practices. This is done through knowledge sharing and training. Mobile apps serve as invaluable educational resources, offering localized and accessible training modules on sustainable farming techniques, agroforestry, water conservation, and biodiversity restoration. They facilitate peer-to-peer learning, allowing communities to share successful strategies and learn from collective experiences, building a robust network of informed practitioners. Secondly, data collection and project monitoring. These platforms enable easy data collection from the field, which is crucial for monitoring the impact of restoration projects. Farmers can easily log data on crop yields, soil health indicators, water usage, and tree survival rates. This information, often geotagged and timestamped, provides project managers and funders with enough and reliable information, ensuring accountability and facilitating adaptive management strategies. Next slide, please. Now, investing in a greener tomorrow. The need for innovative financing for restoration.
Sounding like
the code.
Securing adequate funding is paramount for scaling land restoration initiatives globally. And innovative financing mechanisms are emerging as powerful tools to attract investment, creating opportunities for communities to benefit economically while actively restoring vital ecosystems. Sources of funds or funding could include carbon credits, green bonds, and ecosystem service payments. For carbon credits, by sequestering carbon through reforestation and sustainable land management, projects can regenerate carbon credits, and these credits can then be sold to companies seeking to offset their emissions, providing a direct revenue stream that incentivizes and funds further restoration work. This market-based approach aligns economic incentives with environmental benefits. Now to green bonds, and these are fixed income instruments, specifically designed to raise capital for projects with environmental benefits. Governments, organizations, and corporations issue these bonds to fund initiatives like land restoration, sustainable agriculture, and renewable energy, attracting socially conscious investors who prioritize both financial returns and positive ecological impact. Ecosystem service payments. These schemes involve payments to landowners or communities for managing their land in ways that provide valuable ecosystem services such as clean water, biodiversity conservation, and soil fertility. By compensating those who protect and restore natural capital, these payments create direct economic link between healthy ecosystems and human well-being, fostering long-term stewardship. These innovative financing tools are essential for mobilizing the significant investment needed to reverse land degradation and build resilient landscapes while empowering communities to become stewards of their environment and improving their livelihoods. Next slide, please. Now to actionable insights for a resilient planet. We're seeing that we're destroying our planet consciously or unconsciously. We need to take action for sustainability. What are the key takeaways? As we conclude our exploration of land restoration, it's crucial to distill our insights into actionable understanding. The journey towards a healthier planet is multifaceted, but certain truths stand out as guiding principles for our collective efforts. As far as land degradation is concerned, there's need for urgent yet reversible efforts. The challenge of land degradation is immense and pressing, impacting biodiversity, as we have said, climate stability, and human livelihoods. However, the science and practical experience unequivocally show that degradation is not irreversible. With concerted effort, innovative solutions, and unwavering commitment, we can heal our landscapes and restore their vital functions. We've talked about community involvement in conjunction with technology, and we know that this will lead to sustainable restoration. The most successful restoration initiatives are those that empower local communities, integrating their local knowledge with cutting-edge technological advancements. From mobile apps providing vital farming insights to drones ensuring precision reforestation, technology amplifies community-led efforts, leading to more sustainable and impactful outcomes. Then the issue of partnerships, which the last speaker has talked about, and I think is one of the goals, goal 17, the next speaker is going to talk about. No single entity can tackle the scale of land degradation alone. Effective partnerships between governments, NGOs, research institutions, private innovators, and local communities are critical. These collaborations pool resources, share expertise, and create synergistic effects that significantly accelerate the pace and reach of restoration efforts. Embracing these key takeaways will pave a way for a more regenerative future, where healthy lands sustain thriving communities and a stable climate. Next slide, please. Our collective journey towards renewal, a call to action. We have to be catalysts for change. The future of our planet's land health rests in our hands, every one of us. Every single action we take, every action, big or small, contributes to the monumental task of restoring degraded ecosystems and fostering sustainable agricultural practices. Let this presentation not just be a source of information, but a catalyst for your personal and professional involvement. How do we go about this? How do you go about this? First, support or initiate local projects. You can seek out local land restoration or sustainable agriculture projects in your area and offer your support, whether through volunteering, expertise, or financial contributions. If none exist, consider initiating one. Start small, gather like-minded individuals, and utilize available resources to make a tangible difference in your community. The other way is to explore further resources. You can deepen your understanding and broaden your perspective by exploring resources from leading organizations We encourage you to visit the websites of organizations like the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, UNEP website, and learn about initiatives like the Great Green Wall. These platforms offer invaluable data, case studies, and guidelines for effective restoration. You could also engage and connect. Your insights and questions are vital. We invite you to engage in a question and answer session now, or connect with us and fellow attendees afterwards to share ideas, explore potential collaborations, and discuss how we can collectively advance the cause of land restoration. Let's foster a vibrant community dedicated to environmental stewardship. Together, we can turn the tide on landscape degradation, ensuring a resilient and prosperous future for generations to come. I thank you for your rapt attention. And thank you for commitment to a sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. I mean, I quite agree with what you've said so far. This planet belongs to every one of us, and it behoves on us to see that we preserve the planet. The insights and the examples and the efforts that every other organizations or individuals that you've mentioned on the call, the effort they are putting in place to see that the planet is being preserved, they are quite profound. And I believe that everyone on the call quite agrees with Prof that this planet needs proper care, and we are the ones who can drive that care and preserve our planet. So thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much once again. Does anyone have a question before we move over? I think what Prof has said this morning is quite relatable, and it's quite heartwarming to everyone as to how we can continuously take care of our planet. So I do not see any question in the chat room. And personally, I also do not have questions because, I mean, you spoke passionately to our hearts. So thank you very much once again, Prof. And do enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, so we're moving on to the next session.
There's a question. There's a question, ma'am.
Oh.
There is.
Okay, yes. Prof, I see a question in the chat room. Prof, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, so there's a question in the chat room, and it says, we have a very disturbing environmental and national security issues in Ghana, which is illegal mining called galamsey, okay? And the government has lost control of the situation. What expert advice can you share on this issue?
Thank you very much for the question. That is a very dicey issue, which is, I know of galamsey in Ghana. In Nigeria, it is quite alarming if you have been following what has been happening. If you get to areas like Zamfara, you get to areas like the Jos Plateau, you get to even the Niger Delta, you know, anywhere there is this mining of minerals, particularly, you know, in the artisanal way, it's quite a dicey and tricky issue because it involves billions. And there is a whole value chain. You know, you will be surprised to note that in most of these areas, the value chain is large, involving the security personnel, involving the government, involving NGOs, because involving even the military, you know, because it's a booming business. I come from the Jos Plateau in Nigeria, where tin mining is very popular, and the government has tried its best because it has to do with livelihoods, and it's quite contradictory. It's contradictory in the sense that this same land is being destroyed. So we ask the question, what are you leaving behind for our children and our children's children? Because the mining is done in such a crude way that it leaves the environment devastated it cannot be used again. What the government has done in Plateau State is to, you know, create what they call an executive order, to sort of handle it in a win-win way. People have to do it. You mine, but you mine in a sustainable way. Instead of destroying the land, laws are made for you to, rehabilitate whatever land you destroy so that you leave some path for the generation to come. So it has to be, it shouldn't be coercive. It shouldn't be with force because it wouldn't work. And you see, as I said, these areas are also hotbeds of insecurity. Well armed, lots of weapons are flowing around these zones. So the government has to be very strategic, with the help of NGOs to sort of find a sustainable way to this problem. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question. All right. So we quickly move over to the next, because of our time. All right. So we'll quickly move over and bring up the next speaker we have for today as we bring this webinar to a successful close. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Ibrahim Ejuailo. All right, he's a researcher and an analyst specializing in international relations, policy and strategy and development with a strong focus on SDG 17, which is partnership for the goals. And he's a graduate of Ahmadu Bello University and explores how strategic cooperation, institutional collaboration, and global partnership can drive sustainable development. And he's based in Abuja, and he contributes to thought leadership and policy discussions that strengthens cross-sector partnership and advance inclusive development. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Ibrahim. Mr. Ibrahim, thank you very much for joining us. And you can take it over from here. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, you're welcome.
Yeah. The slides.
Please go ahead now.
Okay, based on, if we look at the two speakers and all other SDGs that are in focus, the 16 other SDGs, we realize that there's one thing in common from what all speakers, the two previous speakers have mentioned. There's the need for partnerships, for collaboration, in order to be able to achieve these goals. There is no single entity that can say that it has the capacity to achieve any one of these goals without partnering with another entity or another group, be it a government or private institution. Now, if we'll look at, am I share the screen? Yep. So if we look at our societies, for instance, the civilizing process, our societies have undergone different levels. Various societies in our society have undergone different levels of development through time. And what we have usually is a contest in most cases between societies for resources, and that further conflicts the challenges that we face individually or collectively. Okay, let me do this. So in the civilizing process is actually a concept that was first propounded by Norbert Elias in 1939, which has undergone a lot of modifications and has been viewed from various perspectives on how various civilizations or various societies develop and get civilized in various ways. And based on that, the need for various societies differ with differing time and scale, with the levels of relationships, advancements, and so on. And then this brings about the broken windows theory, which talks about the orderliness of an environment, and the orderliness of an environment or a society increases the level of its willingness to collaborate with another society to attain certain developmental objectives. Now, this was propounded, the broken windows concept theory was propounded by James Wilson and George Kelly, and they realized that in most instances, when you have an orderly society, there is that willingness by even people who are not naturally inclined to obey rules to try to behave themselves because they are within an environment that the rules matter. So if the rules are obeyed here, you have to respect yourself. Like a friend was telling me that if you, in Nigeria, you violate rules, when you step outside Nigeria, you behave yourself, because there you see an orderly environment that penalizes wrongdoing, and so that makes it difficult for anyone to want to violate laws. A lot of experiments were conducted in this regard, and then this now brings us to the ability to, when we begin to look at the pillars of sustainable development, because if we have an orderly environment or disorderly environment, all these have implications on the development, especially the sustainability of such development within the society. And in this case, we are now going to look at the social, economic, and environmental development, which are the three pillars of sustainable development, which are also in line with peace, which is more of a social factor, prosperity, which is for the people, which is more of an economic factor, and also prosperity for the planet, which is both economic and environmental. So that is the basis for these are like a preamble to going into reasons that there has to be collaboration between societies, because we have a society that requires justice, that requires to combat all 16 challenges within the SDGs. And as I shall mention in the soon, and Professor Uzoma also mentioned, the family is a basis, because when you're talking about social development, you have to make mention of the family and family structures and family values, and how these families come up to, because they are the building blocks of the society. Each and every family comes up to bring individuals that then relate at various levels of the society, from domestic, local, domestic to national and international. Now, why do we have multi-sector partnerships? Why should we have multi-sector partnerships? The self, in this case, when we talk about the self, human cooperation and social emotions, for instance, the self is now referring to not just a human self, but a societal self. the self as an entity, the self as a family, the self as an extended family, the self as a community, the self as a nation, the self as the global community. So, and when we begin to look at that, then we now look at human cooperation and social emotions, how human cooperation and social emotions have fared over centuries or millennia. And in this case, we are now going to be looking at the ontological trajectory of an evolutionary psychology of the human mind. How do the human mind, how does it want to interact with another human entity? How does the human mind want to interact with another individual, be it within the family? How does one family, and that's the reason I talk about the self in quotes, and the self not just being a single human entity, but also a family entity, an extended family entity, a clanish entity, a societal or communal entity, a national entity, a regional or a supranational entity, and then an international global community. What makes the individual want to cooperate with another entity? What makes this society want to, why would the society want to cooperate with another society? This brings also about social emotions, entities and social strata, and so on, population variations, and so on, and the dynamics of all these social structures that are in play within the society. Now, for all this to come in play, for all these selves, in quote, to cooperate, cooperation has to be seen as a positive sum game. I have something to gain from it. You have something to gain from it. He has something to gain from it. It may not be the same thing, but we can cooperate to see how we bring about all these interests. And we shall see that when we'll be talking about resource determinism and so on. When we begin to look at our interest in the various group interests that are associated to a particular entity, or the various groups that are having their divergent or convergent interests as it may be, and how these interests are going to be achieved without having to infringe upon the needs or rights of each of the actors or stakeholders that are within this cooperation or collaboration. And also, why we need to collaborate, for instance, and why we need partnership at various levels and of the society is the concept of globalization and demoralization gap. Now, remember, if we see cooperation as a positive sum game, that is, now we are bringing the concept of game theory, where we have the positive sum game, and you cannot end up in a zero-sum game because you have something positive that you gain from this partnership, which will bring you into the partnership because of what you have to gain from it, the interest you have to protect or to achieve or to attain. Now, in this case, when we talk about globalization, for instance, we bring the concept of globalization from the concept of the communications guru who defined the post-war world as a global village. Marshall McLuhan, he defined the post-war world as a global village. And in defining the world as a global village, he tried to make it seem that in a village, the behavior, the actions of one person ripples across the society. Each behavior, anything that happens to someone, you can feel it, you can see it, you feel for it. You go to a neighbor who's lost someone, and you shed tears because you know that person who has been lost, because you are in a village, a limited community, where you can easily get in touch with each other. Now, he brought in that concept of the global village, Marshall McLuhan, to describe the entire world as a global village, because the advances in the concepts of telecommunications and transportation especially have made the world smaller. And these concepts of telecommunication have been able to make the world to interact more fast, in faster, by faster means, and in more timely manner. We are having a real-time conversation, and most of us are across different parts of the world. And that is the concept of globalization. We are in a village. If something happens to someone in London, you feel the pain. Why would something like that happen? And you send a question. And if your question is potent enough, even the British Parliament, the British government will respond to your question, even though you are not a British citizen, because you are a global citizen and you are concerned about what has happened to this person in that society, which should not be. The concept of now the moralization gap in its own sense is about reduction in self-serving biases. Now, if we have cooperation as positive sum game, we have the civilizing process and social media deluge. Now, the civilizing process gives us an inkling as to how enlightened a society is or can be. And if a society is enlightened, the more enlightened a society is, the more the tendency for the society to want to interact, to collaborate by implication with another society. Because they are more enlightened, they know the ways of this society, they understand their cultures, and we shall see other aspects of such collaborations when we begin to discuss the strategies involved in collaborations and partnerships. So, but the moralization gap now in this case, because it reduces self-serving biases, it therefore reduces predatory violence. There's a reduction in predatory violence because now I see things from your perspective. I'm not self-biased. I'm not just biased about issues that will serve my own self alone. You can see we are now talking about the self. But in this case, the self, like I mentioned, is not just an individual. It could be a family, a clan, a society. Excuse me. A society, a community, a state, a nation, a country, or the global community at large, the global village in this sense. So if the moralization gap keeps reducing based on the concept of globalization due to advances in technological developments, transportation, and telecommunications systems, then there is the higher need for partnerships, because you can start businesses with people in other parts of the world that are not even, you have never met before, but you only have to communicate and have some kinds of telecommunicative interactions, and you have a good business or an idea comes up that maybe governments become interested in. Now, when we talk about the civilizing process and social media data deluge. Now, the civilizing process and social media data deluge also, when we look at social media, it opens doors, positive and negative. Now, we should be able to look at these doors and then see, gauge what, especially by expert analysis, which of these are profitable for partnerships and for development, and can these developments be sustainable in the long run, or are they just going to be things that will fade away, very fleeting and short? Now, that is how now the civilizing process, which deals with the level of enlightenment now of the society itself, will play an important role on the nature of interaction with social media, with non-traditional media, and so on, and the information that the deluge of information or data that come across these channels, process them into meaningful information and how they can be useful to the society. Now, when we talk about resource determinism, which I'm talking about, is the idea that societies or groups of people are in constant struggle, or they are in constant struggle or inevitable fight or conflict over finite resources. Finite resources can be land, water, strategic interests, or such as strategic terrain or minerals and so on. So resource determinism, when there are these resources, just like we are having, like Prof. Choji mentioned, we are having resources in Jos Plateau and in the northeast and northwest of Nigeria, and these things are leading to conflict. Desertification is cringing on the available land for grazing and is further creating more conflicts between farmers and herders, and it's becoming more dynamic and more varied. The variation in the tentacles of the conflict keeps spreading and so on. It then brings about, okay, how do we collaborate to ensure that we achieve these sustainable development goals through partnerships, formidable partnerships with various stakeholders, and how this partnership can lead to resolving the first 16 at least of sustainable development goals. Now, these also talk about, when we talk about achieving all these, there are things that are central that must be in place, just like the Prof mentioned. Peace is essential for development. So if peace is essential for development, we need peace for, then the next concept is why multi-sector personally, profitability of mutual cooperation. Now, in profitability of mutual cooperation, we are going to be looking at the respectful consideration of each other's interests. I must respect, or my society or my country or nation or group or family or clan must respect the interest of this other partner or the other stakeholders involved. Now, these stakeholders, like it is written in the title, multi-sector. It may not be only family to family or individual to individual. It could be family, individual, private civil society organizations, private investors or investments, governments, intergovernmental organizations, as we shall also see. And in this regard, we'll now be talking about the Kantian triangle, which was put forth by Immanuel Kant, the social scientist Immanuel Kant. He brought forth the concept of the Kantian triangle, which is democracy, trade, and membership in international organizations. All these are essential to ensure that we have respectful consideration for each other's interests and for better collaboration and partnership methods amongst our various sectors and groups that are needed to achieve this cooperation. Then we shall then talk about strategies for multi-sector collaboration. The first is active communication patterns. Whoever or the stakeholders who are in charge of ensuring that, or who are central to ensuring that this collaboration or partnership works, must be able to come out in clear terms to bring out their aims, their objectives, and clearly state what are expected or the outcomes of the collaborations should be. It should be in clear terms. and it has to be effective. Critical engagement is essential, effective collaboration, and then you have to have trust. You need to have built a level of trust within societies and communities to be able to say that, oh yes, I trust these people, they have done it here, or this person was part of something like this that has worked, or something like that that has worked. So it's not just something that one will have a level of skepticism about, negative skepticism especially, very negative. And then it creates fears, and then people do not give their all because there is no trust, which is a key factor in this. And then there should be infrastructural connectivity. When we talk about infrastructural connectivity, we are referring to concepts like, or issues that foster globalization, like I have mentioned earlier, transportation, transportation, telecommunications, air travel especially, and excuse me, and even finance, how financial flows. These are infrastructural connectivity, because you need to have finance and be able to come up with, to be able to finance collaborations, and how you come up with those finances also matters. And that's the reason partnership must be involved. No entity can just stand on its own and say it can do this. It needs a medium of financial flows. It needs a medium of transportation. It needs a medium that must connect it to people in distant communities that it cannot access, maybe via telecommunications, for instance. And then there is the concept also of supporting an infrastructure of exchange and communication, such as ICT, transportation, and finance, like we have mentioned. And in supporting this infrastructure of exchange, it's not only about, now this is where the bigger players of partnerships, for instance, government and intergovernmental organizations will play a very good role. For instance, if we are talking about dredging of a water body, or for instance, looking at the Lake Chad, where they are talking about restocking the or recharging the Lake Chad through the Congo River Basin and stuff like that. When you look at all these factors, these are collaborations. You need to start from the individuals who live in these societies to be able to see how you have to interact with them, and then interact with the various states around this Lake Chad region and the Congo River Basin, for instance, and then the communities along the channels that lead from the Congo River Basin up to this extent, and then the governments of these countries involved, and how they can be able to collaborate, maybe through the Lake Chad Basin Commission, the various governmental bodies, the sub-governmental bodies, and then the international governmental organizations, the intergovernmental organizations involved, the United Nations, and so on, coming together to ensure that, okay, we do this to reduce the resource determinism of these areas, thereby reducing conflict. And then we have a positive sum game where everybody wins. We have peace, and then other factors of the sustainable development, like setting out or jettisoning hunger, poverty, have good health, have education, and industrial innovation, and so on. Everything can be able to function in this, under this system of partnership, such robust partnership. Then we have intelligence and cooperation. In terms of intelligence and cooperation, here we are talking about super rationality. And the concept of super rationality implies the ability of a one of the actors or every of the actors to be able to foresee or foretell the intent of other actors. And this brings about the historicity, the historical ontology, the self. Now that we are talking about the ontological trajectory of the self comes back into play, because we begin to look at the historicity of each of the selves involved in this partnership. And when we begin to look at the historiography of each of these bodies involved or groups involved, we can now be able to tell, okay, this should be the interest of this person. And enlightenment from our civilizing process will now further let the people understand that, yes, this should be the extent of what I should go for, or what should be tenable or acceptable, because he now understands the concept of the moralization gap, which has now reduced his self-serving interest, thereby reducing further the tendency for violence in each of the groups or selves that are involved. Now, after that, we now talk about leveraging on globalization and enlightenment, which is coupled with what I just explained together. If we coupled on, if we leverage on the advances in globalization, and then the Kantian triangle, ensuring democracy, trade, cooperations, democratic corporations, or cooperation between democratic institutions and governments, democratic governments, and membership in intergovernmental organizations, which are the three key areas of the Kantian triangle, and then the enlightenment, which comes from the civilizing process of Norbert Elias. We then see that we shall have better structures in place to ensure that there is collaboration between bodies, various bodies, no matter how diverse these bodies are. It's all about enlightenment, the civilizing process, and then having some other elements like suprarationality, which deals with intelligence and cooperation amongst the bodies, which is based also on enlightenment of each of these selves involved in these collaborations. And we also have adherence to basic social ethics related to all stakeholders. Now, in adherence to basic social ethics, of course, we have to respect the rights of each of the stakeholders involved in the partnerships, and they and their group must also be due to enlightenment now and of the civilizing process. They must, and they, each of the selves involved, each of the groups involved, and their excuse me, each of the groups involved and their members would have to understand excuse me, I'm sorry, would have to understand sorry about that, would have to understand the basis for cooperation.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, and I think we have less than 5 minutes to go. You kindly round up. So thank you.
All right, all right. So there have to be adherence to basic social ethics relative to all stakeholders involved, so that everyone understands. And then there should be enhanced cross-functionality among all stakeholders, such that no matter the level which any group finds itself, either at the highest level, IGOs, intergovernmental organizations, or the lowest level of the self, the individual and their communities, there have to be cross-functionality of information and flow of information, so that everyone is in sync with what is happening. Then we have to come to understanding and applying the dynamics of cross-cultural communication. And in cross-cultural communication here, we are talking about the pragmatics of various entities, indigenous groups that are involved in this partnership. And in this case, when we're talking about the pragmatics, we have to study in international relations. Some call it the area studies. It's related to the area studies, where you study a particular group to understand the various aspects of that society or country or region, so that you can be able to partner or relate with them. So then we come to setting a structural management system, and this structural management system will have to deal with leaving behind a structure, a reliable structure that will ensure the sustainability of these goals that have been put in place by these collaborations that have been made by these multi-sector groups that are involved. And that will also involve a knowledge management system, which will serve as an information hub, not only as an information hub, but also as a documentation hub and a place that will be like a repository of the goal in place that everyone can come back to. Then we have to talk about incentivizing hard work beyond the main goals. Now, beyond the main goals, interests that are involved by these bodies, interest of all these bodies involved in the collaboration, what other incentive do they get? Just like Dr. Orlando mentioned, that he may come up with something for those who have participated in at least 10 of these call sessions. That is an incentive beyond, maybe they were not expecting something like that. Of course, they wouldn't be expecting it, but he came up with that to incentivize. That is in addition to the knowledge and whatever gains they will have from this interaction, they are now having another incentive that will make them want to engage more in such sessions. Then we come to assessment, influences and impacts of the programs. There has to be a system which is part of the structural management system, in sort of where there will be indicators and parameters that will keep measuring the development of these goals at various levels of the program. Now, these all have to be in place and have to be worked on. Like I always say, that everything is happening contemporaneously. Everything is happening at the same time. You cannot say, no, while this one is going on, this one has to wait. There has to be a system, a robust system, a structural system that will ensure that all these things are in place, so that we can be able to achieve all the goals that we set forth under the SDGs. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. Profoundly speaking, indeed, there is need for partnership and collaboration from different sectors in order for us to achieve the SDG goals. Thank you very much. A round of applause for him. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim, and do have a wonderful weekend ahead. Dr. Orlando, please, over to you, as we have about 2 minutes to round this up. Doctor, you are muted.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. That's all I have to say. It's been great being a part of this journey. That was something that I included in the chat room. I think from the very first time we started the SDG journey, which must have been in February of the year 2024. We started from February of 2024 all the way to today. This is November of 2025. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been great. We're grateful to you. If we organize these sessions and we get nobody coming, then that's not useful. And it's not just the webinars that we have done. We've done many other meetings. We've had training sessions. People have had to do all sorts of examinations and things like that. So a big thank you once again to all of you for your support. Without you all, we will not have been able to achieve anything. So we wanted to have sessions on the entire 17 SDGs. That was our plan. that we must have sessions on the entire SDGs from 1 all the way to 17. And I'm extremely happy that that which we did set out to do, we've been able to achieve it. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of this. If you look on my screen, everybody, if you look on my screen, you will see my thank you. I have a big thank you list. So if you can see my screen, you will see a couple of things. So number one, you see all our speakers. So everybody, a big round of applause to all our speakers. We've had all sorts of speakers from different places that have supported us. If you add, I think we've missed out somebody apart from the 3 the great persons that have also supported us today, the 2 professors and our last speaker, who is also unbecoming a professor himself. So a big thank you to all of them. They've done very well. Without them, we would not have been able to achieve these things that we've been able to do. So once again, a big thank you to everybody that has been a part of this. I just realized that I missed out one of my team members. So, and then some people have been consistent with us. These are some of the names that my people have been able to pull out, and we're going to send you a certain congratulatory message. We're going to check our records. So I'm going to encourage you, if you think or you know that you've attended more than 10 of these webinars, so please put your name in the chat room. We will check it out. We'll review it. So my team has been able to come up with these people, and I'm certain that there are many others who have been attendees, they've been participants, they've been supporters one way or the other since we started this. So a big round of applause to all of you that have been attending, and even those that have not attended up to 10, those that this is their first time of attending. There is where we're going to share the presentations for today. We'll also share our link. All these sessions, well, not all of them. Some of them, the recordings got corrupted one way or the other. But I'm certain that 3/4 of the sessions are all on our YouTube channel. So we'll share the link and even the link to the specific recordings. I already shared it earlier, but we'll share it again. So a big thank you to all of you that have been attendees of these sessions as it is. And lastly, the employees and supporters of these webinars of the organization and our partner organizations too. Once again, everybody, a big thank you to everybody who those that work tirelessly to ensure that these sessions that they happen. Some people literally lose sleep to ensure that these things happen. So a big thank you to all of them. We're going to be rounding up the year with a training. So maybe they will share the flyer for the training. Okay, Edith, you can share the flyer for the training. That we're going to be having a training. So you should avail yourself of that opportunity. You should avail yourself of the opportunity. The training is going to be happening not next week. I believe it is happening on the 11th, right? So the training is going to be happening on the 11th. They'll put they will share the link for the registration. The training in itself is for free, but the exam is not. The exam is not for free because we have to pay for the exam. So, and we have not found a sponsor. We hope we're going to get a sponsor. If we get sponsors who will pay for it, then of course we'll open the exams up to everybody. But the training is for free. It's so please, Edith, can you put up the flyer? It is the training for ESG. Can anybody put up the flyer in the chat room or on the screen? It is our ESG training. All right. It starts on no. It starts on hold on, let me get it right. It starts on the 9th. Yes, sorry, 9th of December. And the exam is the last day. So there is an examination, it's an accredited examination, and it costs X amount of money. Oyinkan, Edith, while we're looking for the flyer, can we put the flyer up and share it also in the chat room? Okay, so The training in itself is on the 9th and the 10th. The examination is on the 11th. The training is on the 9th and on the 10th. So you should give yourself a great Christmas gift, everybody. Not necessarily done, not necessarily, but we encourage the people to take the exam on the last day. If there's a certain reason why they can't, then we can extend it for specific people who have paid for it. But ordinarily we want the people to take the exam on the last day. So I think the link is in the chat room. The training in itself is for free, so you can join. Everybody, there's a link in the chat room. The training in itself is for free, and the training is happening in the first 2 days. It is a Tuesday and a Wednesday. The exam is supposedly meant to be on a Thursday, but for people who can take it for one reason or the other, we might extend the exam for another 24 hours after then. But ideally, we encourage people to take the exam on the third day, which is the 11th in itself, right? So the training in itself is Tuesday and Wednesday. I think that is a mistake. So yeah, but the exam is meant to be on the Thursday, but for some people who can't do it on the Thursday, we'll do it on Friday as it is, but it won't go beyond that. That's for the people. So the flyer is in the chat room. The link is also in the chat room. If I could put it up, I'll put it up on my screen. So I encourage everybody. Once again, the training is for free. You should avail yourself, your friends, even your enemies. You should even bring your enemies even for the class in itself that we are going to be doing. How do you ensure compliance? How do you ensure the ESG? And so, yeah, pretty much these are the things that we're going to be talking about in the training class. I will be leading majority of the session myself. I'll be leading majority of the session myself, and I'm certain that it will be a beautiful and a brilliant time for everybody. Give yourself a Christmas gift by attending the training, and then if you so desire, you can pay for the examination in itself. There will be no certificate for attendance as it is. So, but once again, it'll be great to see all of you on that day, and I think that will be brilliant. Once again, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you. If you end up coming on the training course, that will be great. If you don't, have a beautiful remaining part of your year, and we'll keep you updated with all the great things we're planning for the year 2026. Once again, thank you very much, everyone. God bless you. It's great. It's great to have all of you. Thank you very much. I wish you all a beautiful, brilliant, and transformative 2026 in itself. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once again, do yourself a favor.
Thank
You can
you.
come on the. Yes, it would be nice to take a picture, everybody. Somebody reminded me. So if you don't mind, you can switch on your video. We'll do this in 1 minute. I like to call him Professor Ibrahim. Thank you very much for still being here. Mr. I have a lot of friends that are here. If I start to call your names, I have my recent trainer, Mr. David Olojo, that is here. I have so many people. I mean, the number of people that are here that are teachers, trainers, mentors, and even leaders in different walks of life. There's so many of you that are here. Thank you very much. We appreciate all of you. Please switch on your cameras. We're going to do this in 1 minute, and we'll bring this to a beautiful close, right? So everybody,
Our
if you do
cameras are
not
disabled,
mind,
please.
if you
Our
do not
cameras are
mind,
disabled.
The cameras are disabled.
okay, Edith, right, Victory, please, can you please help, right, in that regard? Yes, thank you. I think they've been able to address that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Elias, thank you. Erika, thank you very much. Maria, Esther, Mr. Richard, thank you very much. Aminu, Salimat, Onyeka, Honorade, Balarabe, Tibita, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for taking the time out. We appreciate you all. I hope all of you will show up for the ESG class. I was sharing with somebody how there's a clear alignment between ESG and even the SDGs. And we're going to talk about that even on that call next week, Tuesday, God willing, as it is. So once again, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you all. Edith and Onyiko and Victory, I hope you've taken the pictures that you need. A lot of people have attended, they've obliged us with their beautiful faces and the handsome ones too. As it is, I'm the least handsome of everybody that is here. The likes of Edith and other beautiful people here that are here. But I'm okay. Don't worry. I don't need to be handsome. I'm okay. I'm good. Right. Once again, thank you very much, and I wish you all well in all
Thank you.
SDG and ESG, SDG and ESG endeavors. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
All right.
everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay happy and